Animation is pictures that move in color with real sound and voices. Comics, novels, and paintings can't do that. Plus, you can do all sorts of things with the characters that you could never get away with doing in live-action films or videos. That's what makes animation so unique and wonderful. And it's the skills and talents of dozens of brilliant artists all working together to make it all happen. Don't you see? Animation is incredibly cool.
Howdy y'all and welcome back to the Anime Field Guide. My name is Dave and this is my podcast where I review anime and discuss the fine folks who make it all possible. Today's episode is near and dear to my heart. This is Golden Boy. Welcome to all first-time listeners. I'm glad you found the show. I hope you're excited for the episode. As always, thank you for any and all returning folks. I really couldn't do it without y'all. If you haven't already, please follow, subscribe, 5-star review, all the nice things. If you would like to jump into our Discord community or get in touch with our social links, all of that is in the description. We are the Anime Field Guide on Card, and our email address is animefieldguide@gmail.com. The Discord and the email address are the best ways to get in touch with me, as well as if you want your comments to be read on the show. I really should be plugging the Discord more aggressively probably, but that's just how it is. Because most importantly, thank you again for making my show part of your day and giving me a little bit of your time to be a highlight of your day. And speaking of being a highlight of my day, I would like to introduce my very special guest for this episode, Mr. Bill from the Gaming and Collecting Podcast.
Hey Dave, thanks for having me again, man.
I think this is a bit more of a cheerful series than our last episode.
It's something. That's the best way I could describe this show, because I've shown it to a few people and I get a different response every time, and it is wonderful. For
those who may not know, Bill and his co-host Alex joined us last year, around November, I believe, for an episode on Made in Abyss. So yeah, very different attitude and sort of mood going into Golden Boy. So for those who may not know you, Bill, or have not listened to our episode on Made in Abyss, would you like to tell the audience real quick what it is that you get to do on the internet?
Sure. So I'm a podcaster, as they say. I do way too many podcasts, as I've learned. I have, of course, Gaming Collecting. That's the podcast I do with my sister Alex. It's a gaming anime kind of nostalgia podcast. It's mostly me and my sister kind of just talking about things that are nostalgic from our childhood or like modern stuff. It's very chaotic, but that's kind of just what it's become over the years. I also have the 3DO experience. That's a bit of a passion project for me. It's a retrospective podcast where I talk about the ill-fated 3DO video game console with my co-host Thrak, and we kind of go over all the games, like some history of the system and all that fun stuff. And then my third show is a show called Geek Addicts, where me and my friend Matt, we talk about all things pop culture, whether it be gaming, anime, comics, TV shows, all sorts of different stuff. It's mostly just a way I get to hang out with a good buddy of mine that I don't get to see all the time anymore. You can find all of those on all the podcasting platforms or over at the Superpod Network, where is a big group of podcasters where my shows are all hosted.
And I'll be sure to link all that in the episode description as well. So whatever your flavor of nerd, I think Bill's got you covered.
I try.
I don't think I could convince my sister to jump into a podcast with me. I like hanging out with her, but I don't know, man. It takes a special kind of friendship with your sibling to make that work.
It's fun because she was the one that offered. Because when I was first starting the show, I didn't really know my direction yet. Because the title of that podcast is a bit deceptive, because it originally was intended to be like a collecting focused podcast, and it quickly became its own thing, but the name kind of stayed. But when I was trying to figure out my co-host situation, Alex had just offered to do it, and I was like, you know what, sure, we'll go with that, and it's stuck ever since.
So before we jump too much into the episode here, I wanted to, like we always do, we have a little bit of an icebreaker segment now. So I wanted to ask you, in the spirit of Golden Boy, and Kentaro Oe is a student of life. So in the spirit of Golden Boy and study, what is a random fun fact that you recently discovered?
Well, I've learned in my recent, basically, I've been on the comic grind lately with all these on like comic books and stuff, because like you can only do so much manga, and I've learned really fast that comics are probably significantly harder to get into than manga ever will be. The random fact I've learned is that just trying to follow one of the comic companies like DC Marvel, you need like an encyclopedia just to figure out like continuity and like where to begin and like what isn't canon anymore, what is. And I recently discovered in my journey that DC had an event at one point where they literally just decided everything is canon when it matters or when it does not. So that has made reading recently very interesting. Comic collecting is such a hard hobby to like introduce to people, I've learned, because like my co-host Matt on Geek Addicts, he's like getting super into comics right now. And I kind of regret it because now he's realizing how insane the entire thing is. He literally he like in one of our episodes, he's like, I hate you. He's like, you've done this to me. I'm like, I'm sorry. I told you not to from the start, but
yeah, you always are posting like a new set of 5 or so. Like it's like a $25 to $30 worth of, new individuals. Like it's almost like every other day. It's just like my heart goes out to your wallet, man. That is a dedication.
I like to thrift and I like to bargain hunt. That is my passion.
A fun fact that I discovered recently, because I've been doing a lot of cat research, and it's really I have one of my cats is getting up there in age. She's getting to, like the tabby is crossing the 15-year mark, and she's doing great for 15. And but I've noticed a little things. You start when your pet starts entering the true senior stage. So it's just been a while since I've had a senior pet. Easy like 10 years or so. So I am double checking. She may be losing her hearing a bit, or just awareness may be going down. Just things that I need to know to best support her. In her golden years. And so along there, I learned that just a group of 3 or more cats. This is random cat stuff, so it's always things. So a group of 3 or more cats is called a clowder. It's like chowder, but with an L. I was like, I've never heard anyone say, with a bunch of cats, go, I have a clowder of cats. I've never heard anyone say that, but apparently it's a common collective noun. Apparently it comes from the Middle English word clodder, meaning to huddle together. So it's like a variation on clutter. So it's like a clutter of cats. It's like, okay, yes, cats are very cluttered. Chaos, the cluttered, messy bundle of cats when they're all just, piled on top of each other, or like all the mess that they make in the house. It's like, okay, so clowder comes from clutter. I kind of see it. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I noticed like fun stuff with my sister's got 2 cats, and I watch them every now and then. They are very interesting creatures.
I always thought I was a dog person growing up, and I was like, no, cats just get me. They just they just understand me, and I just understand them. But I can also understand dogs very well. I've just owned cats primarily ever since out of high school. I had my childhood dogs, and then after that, I've pretty much exclusively owned cats because I was always, in a house, or they were just easier to take care of, right out of college. So thank you for educating me on comic books. That was very cool.
Yeah, that was a very brief comic lesson, because I could probably go on for like 20 hours if I really went off, but we're not going to do that now.
Well, that's the joy of studying, just for the joy of learning things, which is, of course, what this podcast is also all about. I may yap for a lot. The goal of this show has always been to go like, yeah, this is a review, but obviously I'm here to talk about the people that make it and what they went on to do and why it's all cool. And so, I figured for a series like Golden Boy, it's all about life it's a show about studying, sure. So I'm going to yap for a little bit and get the stage set up for our discussion on Golden Boy after this little musical segment.
Life is a mystery. I love the research.
All right, let's open the books on Golden Boy. So this is a 6-episode comedic OVA series animated by Studio A3P, another pushpin planning company, and this is directed by Hiroyuki Kitakubo. The first 3 episodes were released monthly, so this is from October through December 1995. They took a quick production break, and then they released monthly again from April through June of 1996. Golden Boy is based on the Japanese manga series of the same name, written and illustrated by a man named Tatsuya Egawa. It was serialized in Shueisha's seinen magazine, Super Jump, and it had a run from 1992 through 1997, with its chapters later collected in 10 bound volumes. We follow Kentaro Oe, a 25-year-old genius freeder, so just a freelance guy who doesn't have like a steady job. It's basically what that term means. He is a university dropout from Tokyo University. He dropped out of the law school, and he roams Japan working various odd jobs. During his travels, Kentaro encounters several beautiful women who all hate him at first because he makes a terrible first, second, third. Dude acts like an idiot most of the time. But while he works, Kentaro is writing down observations in his notebook and his very, very active imagination. Typically, every episode, there's a conflict or a challenge to overcome, and so further comedy through watching how Kentaro approaches these challenges or through his successes and failures. And by the end of the episode, Kentaro has mastered the job and is now moving on to his next adventure. Meanwhile, his antics are then discovered by the girl of the episode, and they discover how capable and how generous and kind-hearted he's been the entire time. Some of them naturally feel like Kentaro played them for a fool, but then it makes them take a moment of self-reflection. They are changed from the experience, and also they are now madly in love with Kentaro, but of course they have no idea where he's biked off to next. And so the next episode begins, and Kentaro is somewhere else in Japan. So, Bill, I wanted to ask you real quick, how did you first get into this series, and kind of what's your general personal experience with Golden Boy? And then we'll go a little bit more into the author and the studio and everybody else.
Sure. So I actually got into this series relatively recently. Believe it or not, it was actually a recommendation from my 3DO co-host, Thrak, who is not an anime guy at all. Like, that's the funniest part about it. But he knows like this show, and he had recommended it to us at one point during a recording, and I was like, "That sounds absurd, but I want to understand this." So I sat down and watched it like a couple of years ago, and you get hooked by it. Like you just you have to know what happens next. Like every episode, you're like, "There's no way this can get more ridiculous," and then it somehow does, and it just kind of is this crazy adventure the entire way through. Yeah, that's kind of how I ended up discovering it, and it's been kind of just like a running joke now between me and my buddies now, because I love to recommend this to them and get their first reaction shortly after.
Yeah, Golden Boy just has that weird staying power and just a way to people go like, oh, this is this weird anime thing, but it really does have that power to draw you in. And sometimes, for some folks, it's the only anime that they ever watch, and that was good enough for them. It's just one of those that really just crosses all kinds of barriers. So it's I'm glad you have carried on the tradition of inflicting this series upon the unsuspecting populace.
Generally, the point where I discover whether they're going to finish it or not is usually when they get to the toilet scene in episode 1, and then that's kind of like that's either where they turn it off or they'll continue on moment.
Well, for me, I got into Golden Boy through a recommendation of a friend. I believe it was a little bit like in college. I think I'd heard about it in high school. And actually, I was one of those people who I got to the toilet scene and I was like, okay, I'm out. And so I can't tell you how many times I've started the first episode and seen it. Like I could almost quote the entire first episode in my sleep. I eventually got through the series and I was so fascinated by it that I then had to check out the manga and see what happened next. Although several people were like, just stick with the anime.
I've heard. I've heard many a story.
And I will echo those things like, yeah, just stick to the anime. This is of course, the anime was originally a manga. So this is, and Tatsuya Egawa, the mangaka, he's an interesting fella. Again, Golden Boy was in the seinen manga magazine Super Jump. So this is for the older crowd, the 18 and olders who are reading this magazine. But as far as his general history, first thing you want to know, he actually has a college degree in mathematics. And while he was attending college, he was in the usual slate of nerd clubs, the manga and anime research. Also a puppet theater club as well. I thought that was kind of interesting. After graduating, he taught math for about 5 months at a junior high school before transitioning into the manga industry. Junior high kids do not mess around. I don't know how teachers do it. I don't know how my mother did it for all those years. Because that was her domain, math for junior high kids.
Yeah. I can't even imagine. That was like one of the worst times in high school.
So yeah, after a brief stint as a teacher, he entered the manga industry, and he began as an assistant under a best-selling, also seinen author with Shueisha's magazines. He was an assistant under Hiroshi Motomiya. So he's got, this guy's known for several manga. I just wrote down like some of his more famous ones, like My Sky or The Boy Who Acts Alone. He's got over a dozen of these. And basically, these stories and more, he's well known for these grounded, gritty crime dramas, young men who get caught up in gang violence. So very realistic and grounded series, which I can see a clear influence on Egawa's visual style, at least in his manga visual style. And also, this is not Egawa's only anime credit. He also has a key animation credit for on Studio Gainax's debut film, Royal Space Force: The Wings of Oniyamis. Oh. He apparently animated the attempted rape scene. So that was Egawa animating.
That's not as fun.
No, it's not. No, it's not as fun. I heard like, oh, and I was like, wait for it. Oh. But Egawa's debut work, his first serialized work, was Be Free. And so this was in Comic Morning. That's under Kodansha. So from 1984 to 88. And this is a comedic tale. It's a free-spirited high school math teacher who has unconventional teaching methods. He's popular with the students, but he clashes with the traditional group of educators. And so they put him in charge of the delinquent classroom. And so from there, you can kind of guess how, unconventional teacher, class full of delinquents. Sounds a little familiar, right?
Yeah. It seems like he has a common theme.
And this did very well for him. It's got 12 volumes. Folks now more or less remember another series, Great Teacher Onizuka, by Toru Fujisawa, authored that one, of course, the anime of that one. And so Egawa is also a little bit sour about the success of that one. He basically is like, hey, that's my, he took my idea. Egawa is also a guy who's not afraid to voice his opinions. The interview headline was like, he doesn't like One Piece. But the actual explanation was like, he's not a fan of Shonen Jump's editorial. And so he doesn't like One Piece because he's like, I know all of the tricks and things like that editorial does in Shonen Jump, because he himself has produced a hit series in Shonen Jump, in Weekly Shonen Jump. Because after Be Free, he moved back to Shueisha, and his hit was a manga called Magical Star Tararuto-kun. And this ran for another 4 years, 88 to 92. Collected into 21 volumes, very popular series in Japan, but I don't believe we've got it over here in the United States. And it's far from his only hit manga, but again, this is his Weekly Shonen Jump one. This little mascot, it looks like a little, like a jester with a star shape motif, like a little jester crossed with with like what you think like a traditional wizard, like the wizard's hat and everything. So he's almost like a Doraemon type character. After Magical Star Tararuto-kun, he then moved to 1992 in Super Jump, which brings us to around today. So the animation studio is, of course, A3P and other pushpin planning. I have a studio rundown episode on it. Right now, I'll kind of say a little bit from that episode. A3P, it was, of course, white hot during the 80s and the 90s. A lot of major creatives came out of that studio. A lot of really influential projects came out of that studio. Of course, my episode of Project Eiko with Otaku Nate. A3P is also known for Robot Carnival, the anthology film under Katsuhiro Otomo, director of Akira, also the manga author. And then the director of this series also worked on Rojin Z, also under Katsuhiro Otomo, so another mecha comedy. And Golden Boy is kind of like near the end of what was like the golden age for this studio. And they went, I think it's pretty clear talking about the animation, but I think it's pretty clear they went all out on this project.
It's very interesting on the Wikipedia page. Like it shows them all in order. And then like you get towards the end where Golden Boy is and it's like surrounded by hentai productions. I'm like, oh, I see.
Yeah, they also made a lot of porn, so they are very much known, especially for Cream Lemon, which is one, again, very important to the director of this series for Golden Boy, Hideyuki Kitakubo. This guy also has a very interesting history. He entered the anime industry as a teenager, and you can see he did like key animation on episode 11 of Mobile Suit Gundam, 1979. So he was 15 years old. Well, he has uncredited works on episodes of Urusei Yatsura, and then also key animation on Macross Do You Remember Love? His directorial debut is in episode 4 of that hentai anthology, Cream Lemon. He was the screenplay, the storyboarder. He designed the characters with where he also shares some credits with Yuji Moriyama, another major creative. But episode 4, Pop Chaser, which is again in the Cream Lemon anthology, it's a big deal. But he's got a different name. He's under like the pen name Dai Sakura. But Kitty-Kubo, his mainstream director credits begins with this the OVAs Black Magic M66. So this is, Masamune Shiro, the author of Ghost in the Shell. This is his debut manga. That was originally a doujin. Like it was originally just an amateur comic that he later got an official reprint. And then Black Magic M66 got a OVA. So that was Kitty-Kubo's directorial debut. Also, we have his segment for the film anthology Robot Carnival. That's the one with A Tale of Two Robots. And this is the one where it's the 19th century, air quote, like giant robots is doing a lot of work here because it's basically a bunch of giant wooden puppets, steampunk giant robo. One's piloted by villagers, the other one's piloted by this mad scientist character, and chaos and destruction and steam-powered robot punches ensue. Kitty-Kubo was on the animation team for Akira, and then again 1991's film Rojin Z. That's a feature movie. So again, another sci-fi mecha comedy. I believe it's like an old man who's like in this high-tech bed, and the bed comes to life and all of a sudden starts integrating all this other technology. And so it's an old man, like a senile old man air quotes, piloting this giant amalgamation of tech. So he was the director of that one. And then 2001's Blood the Last Vampire. He co-wrote that alongside Kenji Kamiyama at Production IG.
Oh, I know that studio.
On the production committee, there's an interesting little company on here talking about, Cream Lemon and Pop Chaser and other things with A3P's involvement. On the production committee, naturally, Shueisha's here because, they have the magazine and everything. But there's also a company called KSS Incorporated, previously named Kamakura Superstation. KSS Incorporated was a video content production company that they produced original videos plus a fair bit of adult content. They are the original owners of a hentai label called Pink Pineapple, but they also published the music, including Golden Boy's soundtrack. And then in 2004, they dissolved, and most of their assets, including Pink Pineapple, moved to a company called Soft Garage.
I love these names.
All right, we got the character designer and the chief animation director, another legend in the field, Toshihiro Kawamoto. And he's done, Kawamoto worked on several Sunrise titles, so including Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, Char's Counterattack, Arion and Venus Wars. That's Yoshikazu Yasuhiko's films. Then he moved up to animation director on 0080 War in the Pocket OVAs. And then he was also assistant animation director on Gundam F91. And he moved up to character designer fully, beginning with Mobile Suit Gundam Stardust Memories, the 0083, plus the last Blitz of Zeon. He was also character designer on Mobile Suit Gundam 8th MS Team. And of course, Cowboy Bebop. So long list of credits. I was like, there it is. True veteran of the industry. And of course, he is a co-founder of Studio Bones, where he continued working in character designs plus animation direction. Since this is a very episodic series, obviously Hiroyuki Kitty-Kubo, he's the series director. Including him, we have 4 other episode directors. So he's still over the whole thing, and he directed episodes 1 and 6. So as we go through, I figured we would just talk through Golden Boy, talk through the featured characters, kind of go through like the voice actors for Kentaro, and then the lady of the feature, and then I'll set it up again with like who's the episode director on this, and then we'll kind of move through that.
Nice.
What were your first impressions, say like in the first 5 minutes of episode 1 of Golden Boy?
So for first impressions, going into this, I knew pretty much the basic synopsis, but not really any of the details. So I didn't really know how extreme the show gets at times. My first 5 minutes were basically he almost gets run over, and then basically the second the lady of the episode shows up on screen, I immediately went, okay, I see what kind of show this is going to be now. And then I kind of was just like on for the ride from there. So I had the benefit when I first watched this. I had watched it right after watching Ghost Stories for the first time. So I was already
okay.
I was already kind of in that mindset where I was like, you know what? I don't care anymore. I'll watch anything. Yeah, I just kind of jumped into it knowing this was going to be something. That being said, though, the English dub is just nonsense in the best way.
It is. I love it. It's not like the Japanese dub is any slouch either, but this is very much like a lot of the early reputation for this show and a lot of the staying power for this show is certainly that English dub. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is clearly, this is Matt Greenfield's leading the team on this one. He's the ADR director and scripts. And he's got Tiffany Grant with him, who is Le Madame President of this episode.
It's got that ADV, like, cringy charm to it, like, because ADV just had that, like, that thing where, like, their dubs would be kind of like bad but in like the best way possible.
Very, very ad-libby, and the Golden Boy is definitely on the very ad-libby side. In fact, my most recent time watching this, I was actually primarily watching the Japanese because I'd seen the English dub so many times that Doug Smith's voice is just burned into my brain.
Yes.
Yeah, because Doug's primarily a graphic designer, and so as he was working with ADV, he did like a lot of the cover art for like DVDs or like promotional material. He also did like DVD menu designs, backgrounds, that kind of thing. So as they when Discotek was re-releasing the Blu-ray for Golden Boy, they brought him in and said, "Hey, would you like to sit down and tell us your experience, but talk about Golden Boy?" And it's a shame they only had him for like sitting down for the first episode, because as he's talking, he's really talking about the entire series in the span of like 25 minutes. Like, how do you even summarize that?
Yeah, there is a lot.
But as he tells it, and as the story goes, the whole graphic design team, their offices were across the hall from Matt Greenfield. And Matt would basically like poke his head in there and go, "Hey, I need you guys for like an hour, like a couple of minutes." And they would go in and Matt would go, "Okay, I need you to, we're going to do some background voices. I need you to, you're at a ball game. I need you to cheer. Or, there's an explosion. I need you guys to run away. Now you're dying, So Doug say like just through all of that, it was really fun. He enjoyed the process and he took direction very well. And so when it came time for Golden Boy and he got the job for Kentaro, he already had, that experience basically doing like Walla. And he has a couple of other credits, but Kentaro is like his only like big main character credit.
Looking through his, one of my favorite websites is Behind the Voice Actors.
Behind the Voice Actors, yeah.
It looks like he had a relatively short run from like 96 to 04. At least that's the show titles. And even then, that 04 one, I think, is just the one exception because the rest are all firmly like the 90s. Yeah,
it was really just like the late 90s primarily, because his only other main character is in the Dragon Knight OVA, and that is also a hentai. He was the main character in that one.
Lovely.
Again, not to be outdone, the Japanese voice of Kentaro is the legendary Mitsuo Iwata. And this is who voices Kaneda from Akira. So that's a really big one. He's also Orbot from Sonic the Hedgehog. He's had a long-standing role as Itsuki Takeuchi, one of the comic relief characters from Initial D and then MF Ghost. Kojiro Sakai from Irresponsible Captain Tyler. And then Saiki Kunihara from The Disastrous Life of Saiki K. He apparently was practicing Kentaro's voice for months to the point that he actually was going hoarse. Getting back on track with episode 1. So Kentaro basically sees a pretty girl and decides to, well, actually, no, it wasn't even that he decided to follow her for this one. That's a later episode where he sees a pretty girl and just follows her into a building. Because he was supposed to, like, he took up a janitorial position, but he ends up working at a computer programming company.
He really enjoys his job.
He enjoys his job a little too much. Of course, this being Golden Boy, it is a computer, like the company is entirely staffed by beautiful women. It's not just Madam President, although she is certainly the highlight. It's immediate apparent that the animators are a big bouncing fan of Madam President. It's like it's immediately obvious that like, okay, this is definitely a like an adult comedy.
Yeah, very much. A wardrobe that would that only works in anime.
A wardrobe miracle. Oh my gosh. Madam President is our highlight character. She is voiced by Hiromi Tsuru in Japanese. So this is the voice of Bulma from Dragon Ball, Madoka Ayokawa from Kimagure Orange Road, long role as Dokin-chan from Anpan-man, the voice of Meryl Strife from Trigun, Asuna Kujo from Maison Ikoku, Ukyo from Ranma Half, like the list goes on. We have Tiffany Grant, Asuka Langley from the ADV dub of Neon Genesis Evangelion, as, also came back as Asuka for Evangelion Rebuilds. One of my favorite characters in one of my favorite mecha anime, Godanar, she was Shizuru Fujimura, and then the Sentai dub for the Vampire Hunter D, the 80s OVA, the first one, she was Medusa.
Yeah, I'm like scrolling through her page. Like I recognize most of these shows, even if I haven't. Oh, I know that character from Azumanga Daioh.
Azumanga Daioh, yeah.
I recognize a lot of these characters. I don't think I've seen a lot of these shows, though.
Well, as we go through, Kentaro is working as a janitor at this computer company. And as he's doing his odd job, this is where we learn a couple of things about him. One, he is, of course, very, very curious. He has a special notebook that he's taking all of these notes in, his notes and observations. Very true blue, flying colors, very honest to goodness, just pervert. Mm-hmm. Very active imagination, and also surprisingly good at drawing people, or specifically ladies.
Yeah.
He can glance at someone and just immediately get their 3 measurements.
One of those things where I'm just like, how? And you just don't worry about it.
It's just, again, not a great first, second, third impression.
I literally had to explain to somebody that the main character has a toilet fetish, and they were like, excuse me? I'm like, you just have to watch it to understand.
It's not the toilets. He's like just lusting after who sits on the toilets, but he's imagining his face as the toilet bowl, and then he being sat on. So
it's the moment where most people turn off right away.
Very, very, very in your face. But as it goes, Kentaro is trying to learn about the business, or he's just kind of curious about computers. And the challenge of this episode is Kentaro is, of course, computer illiterate. This is the early mid 90s. We don't have the mass internet. We don't have all of the tech that we do today. So like computers are still like a very, very new thing. What did you think of him trying to save himself by going like, hey, I actually do know how to code, and the way he taught himself?
It's like the classic just kind of bullshit your way through it until you succeed. It's very endearing. That's like the best way to put it.
Literally burning. So when he leaves from work, he's like literally burning the midnight oil. Like he's got 2 candles strapped to his head, and he has a book on a stand, and he's drawn, you can see like he has this large paper cutout of a keyboard, and he's just typing on the paper keyboard going, oh, this is fun. And so they sit him in front of a computer. He goes, where are the pages?
Yeah.
I love it. Those are some of my funny, what I like, some of my favorite gags, where he just goes in like full confidence and just doesn't know anything of what he's doing. His blunder, therefore, I still just like do a visual ooh when it's the scene of him closing up for the night and unplugging the computers with the thing running.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, he is dead. He is so dead.
Unplugging the server, just being like, oh
naturally, no. This goes about as well as you can expect. He's just wiped out their entire big project that they're on. The deadline is ruined, and Kentaro is fired. By the end of the episode, it's been a week since he was fired. All of a sudden, they get a package at the office, and it's a floppy disk where Kentaro has actually programmed. He's actually fixed and improved the program that they were working on. The dude actually learned to code, found a computer somewhere, rebuilt their entire thing, and just handed it off. Naturally, the president was like, was he playing us the entire time?
I just completely forgot about it. The scene right at the start, where right after she does run him over with her car, I forget that she just straight up gives him a giant bag of money. He's basically like, yeah, that's fine. I don't have to worry about this. Just the way it's nonchalant. Like, it's a very chaotic episode, and it kind of just, the way it just kind of ends, where it's like, what happened? And then you just kind of move on from there.
It's an interesting format, because as we go into episode 2, it's a completely different setting. What is it? He's trying to get there's an election going on in this smaller town, and he is working to get Mayor Katsuda reelected. And he can tell like immediately this mayor is corrupt as hell. He's got all his Yakuza gang connections. And then Kentaro is working because, what is it? They said if he gets reelected, we'll take everybody to a soap land to get the massage. It's like now Kentaro is bought in. Yep. And then also, girl this episode is named Naoko Katsuda, so the apparently demure high schooler, which this is the one, like if it was episode 1, I'll have to say, this one kind of gives me the ick.
Yeah, this one's very of its time.
Flagrant sexualization of a teenager. Because the whole thing about this one is Naoko, her dad is so powerful, if you mess with my daughter, you're going to take a swim in concrete shoes. So she teases him constantly throughout this episode. I'm just kind of like, come on, dude.
It's a very common for that era trope that anime did. And even now going back, you're always kind of like, yeah, that's Japan, all right.
He's obviously attracted to her, but then at the same time, he's like, no, she shouldn't be doing this. I should protect this purity.
His priorities are weird, like throughout this series.
Yeah, his priorities are kind of just all over the place. Yeah, but especially for like this episode, this is really like the only underage character in the entire, at least in this series of episodes. And it's one of those like, yeah, the inevitable happens where as like the episode goes through, she escalates until she discovers the notebook. Kentaro is actually aware of everything that she's trying to do.
He basically understood the entire time, and he's just kind of letting it happen while not participating, basically.
Like, how dedicated is he really to all this curiosity stuff? Like, what is he really trying to learn from this experience?
Yeah, this episode really is like the kind of the oddball in the entire series, at least for the anime.
Yeah, at least for the anime. Trust me, it gets much weirder in the manga. Inevitably, as you could guess, when she finds this out, she is very upset. So naturally, Kentaro gets beaten up by a bunch of the Yakuza guys as she, raises the alarm and such. Even so, like, there's a nice resolution to the episode overall, I think, even though he is like beaten to a pulp as he's biking away.
Yeah. Don't worry, he'll be fine in the next episode. Yeah, this one really kind of is just kind of like cut and dry, like the most, like it kind of just happens and then ends, and it's just kind of like here nor there. And then they just move on. So
the episode 2's director is Yasuhito Kikuchi. So he's got a couple of key animation credits. Episode 6 of Gunbuster. He worked on episodes of Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water, as well as Otaku no Video, so over at Gainax. He also did some episodes of Doomed Megalopolis, Green Legend Ran, Captain Tyler, and then JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the 1993 OVA series. He was also the animation director of episode 4 of that. And after Golden Boy, he had his series director debut on El Hazard, The Alternative World. An interesting one in his catalog is Legend of Black Heaven from 1999. I actually saw this DVD sitting at a used bookstore up in Davenport, Iowa, one of those like retro gaming books, videos kind of things. Legend of Black Heaven is essentially like Hard Rock Saves the Galaxy. It's like a guy who's wanted to, like, who basically forms a band to save the galaxy. But he was also a director of Macross Frontier under Shoji Kawamori. And then in the 2010s, he did a couple of series about girls in mech suits. So he was the director of Buso Shinki and then Infinite Stratos. And now he's probably better known for his involvement with as the series director and animation director on That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime.
It's probably the best isekai right now.
Naoko Katsuda in Japanese is voiced by Yuko Minaguchi. She's known for Videl and Pan from Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super, Sailor Saturn from Sailor Moon, and then another one, Yawara Inokuma from Yawara, a Fashionable Judo Girl. And then for English, we've got Alison Keith Shipp. So voices on Nuku Nuku from All Purpose Cat Girl Nuku Nuku. Also Misato Katsuragi from Neon Genesis Evangelion, again, the original dub, as well as the Evangelion Rebuild movies, and then Melissa Mao from Full Metal Panic.
That's where I know her the most from. I know that voice. That's like the only mech anime I can really get into for whatever reason.
I feel you. It took me a while to get into mecha as well, but once I did, it's like, okay, it's like a whole new world. It took me years to get into mecha, so I understand. Going on into episode 3, this is the noodle shop. Kentaro is working part-time at a noodle shop. So the girl in this episode, her name is Noriko, and her dad recently got hit by a car.
It's a weird recurring theme in this show.
Yeah, but this one like definitely made contact. So Kentaro is learning the noodle business, under the direction of Noriko's father. He's also like he's like living upstairs. And then I think, what is it? This handsome man, his name is Hiroshi Kogure, and he's trying to woo Noriko. But his real goal is he wants to take over the noodle shop, close it down, convert it into basically use it for money laundering or open up a cabaret club. A few new things are learned about Kentaro in this episode.
Yeah, he's weirdly competent in this episode, like just right off from the bat.
I love the scene where how Kentaro figures out that Hiroshi Kogure is like this bad guy, because like somehow like he got some kind of vibe. The next thing we know, like Hiroshi has another girl that he's like doing this crime thing with. And they're in a car, doing as you would in a car, in a parking garage. And Kentaro is just squatted by the car writing notes going, oh, this is very educational. Oh, he's doing what to her now? Ooh, very cool. Oh no, Noriko's in danger. I must protect her chastity at all cost.
I don't want to break this up too much, but I did just realize we missed one of the greatest lines ever from episode 1.
Oh, what was that?
Sea-base.
Oh, Sea-base.
Because I always will remember the quote of sea-base is not sex.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I just had that one just popped in my head for some reason.
Oh, yeah. No problem. I do find it interesting that not only does he confront Hiroshi, but the way he confronts him, like he tries to appeal to the guy's better sense, or he tries to appeal to the guy's humanity. Like it's another thing that's like Kentaro gets beat up a lot in this episode. And it's one of those like, why doesn't he ever fight back? Why doesn't he ever do anything about it? Any other person would have been like, hey, you can't do this. And Kentaro instead asks, please don't do this. He never like changes his tone. It's like, please don't do this. Please be kind to Noriko. Please look after her. Please look after the noodle shop. Please don't close it down. It comes across very much in the Japanese dub. And of course, Kentaro is like, Doug just goes like full begging mode in this one.
It's crazy too, because he's really going out of his way to like be the good guy here, but like no one's like believing it, which is crazy.
It's one of those like you're watching the show. It's like all Kentaro has to do is like warn Noriko or like warn anybody. So you're just kind of like, why is he trying to take all of this on by himself?
He tries to warn her, but like in like the most obtuse way possible, and all it does is make her like annoyed.
Although one of my favorite gags of the series is, of course, when Hiroshi takes Noriko on a date and they're at the racetrack.
Yep.
And he tries, first making out with her and doing the, trying to unbutton, she's trying to get in the girl's pants. There's the horse racing mascot just in a corner. I don't know how Kentaro isn't getting caught. Like the guy keeps rolling natural 20s for stealth in this episode. Because as Hiroshi is trying to do these things to Noriko, is like Kentaro's buttoning the shirt back up and putting all the zippers back. And then the guy tries to French kiss Noriko and he ends up French kissing Kentaro.
Yep.
It's like the whole time the dude's eyes are shut. And so by the next day, Kentaro is just laying on the bed, just dazed.
Yeah, that entire scene is so unhinged. It's not even funny.
Oh, it's hilarious. I love it. It's one of my favorite gags of the series. It's like just so with what happens next, like when Hiroshi like finally reveals his true nature and then starts beating up Kentaro for constantly meddling. And then we see like Kentaro knows Kempo and he's very good at it. So he like takes all of these beats and he's like, okay, fine. And he throws a right hook. Dude goes down. I think it's like, Don't hit someone weaker than yourself. So it's like, okay, so now it's another layer of like, okay, why does Kentaro allow himself to be beaten up? It's another layer to this guy. What do you think about episode 3, just kind of overall?
This is the one that kind of gets me, because this is like the one where like the girl gets the closest to actually confessing to him, but he like somehow ducks out of it and goes off on his way. And I'm just like, damn. Like that was the closest I think we're ever going to get.
I think much more so than episode 2. This is almost like just a very, very straightforward, like I almost dare say normal episode, almost like everyday episode of Golden Boy.
This is the one that you could like take it out of the show and make it its own thing, and it would probably be able to stand on its own the best, I'd say. It doesn't have a lot of the tropes that some of these other episodes have that makes the show what it is.
I think this is a good episode to have in the middle to show that, he does have other layers. He's not always just thinking with his bottom half the entire time. Hello, Editing Dave here. It's been a while since I've had to do this. I forgot a few things about episode 3's credits, namely Noriko's voice actresses. So real quick, Noriko is voiced by Yuri Shiratori in Japanese. She's done some Sanrio anime, including Hello Kitty and Kiki and Lala, or Little Twin Star. She voices Lala in there. And then other than that, she's also voiced Yukime from Hell Teacher Nube, Mokana from Magic Knight's Rayearth, Lilie from Princess Tutu, and Nanami Kiryu from Revolutionary Girl Utena. In English, she is voiced by Kim Sevier, or also Kimberly Robertson in this credits, Yuri from the Dirty Pair Flash OVA series, Yui Ikari from Neon Genesis Evangelion, plus a lot of OVAs for ADV in the late 90s, early 2000s, so Kimira, New Cutie Honey, Panzer Dragoon, Soul Bianca, Devil Hunter Yoko, a couple of like that. Episode director is Hiroyuki Morita. He's known for a couple of key animation credits. He worked on episode 1 of Record of Lodoss War, the OVAs, Green Legend Rand, episode 3, Magnetic Rose, the segment for the Memories anthology film, and the 1998's Spriggan. He also worked on some films at Studio Ghibli, including My Neighbors the Yamadas under Takahata. He was also an animator on The Tale of Princess Kaguya. And then he did 2 short films under Miyazaki, Koro's Big Day Out, and then a sort of soft sequel to My Neighbor Totoro. This is May and the Kitten Bus. So there was a little kitten bus from Totoro. He was a director. In fact, his directorial debut was also at Studio Ghibli. He was the director on The Cat Returns. And during this time, soon after, he also left Studio Ghibli, but then he came back for key animation on Tales from the Earthsea. Also around the same time, he was working as a key animator and storyboards on projects for Madhouse, so Paranoia Agent and Monster, Production IG. He worked on Ghost in the Shell, Innocence. His next director's credit after The Cat Returns is for 2007. It's a Super Robot series, Bokurano. Then he was also the director on season 18 of One Piece. Morita's most recent credits, as far as this episode's recording, is animation and storyboards for the opening credits series and some episodes on Akane Banashi. For what it's worth, also, I forgot because this is the only other episode that I wrote down, other voice actor credits. Hiroshi Kogure, the villain of this arc, he is voiced in Japanese by Jiroto Kosugi. This is Jotaro Kujo from the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure OVAs. This is the original voice of JoJo. Also, this is the Japanese voice of Tsukashi, or of course, from episode 5, Samurai Pizza Cats. This is the Japanese voice of Guido Anchovy from Samurai Pizza Cats. Zagato and Landis, so Sorcerer Zagato from Magic Knight's Rayearth. Akio Otori from Revolutionary Girl Utena. So a lot of roles for this guy. Of course, also the narrator plus Captain Henkin Beckner from Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. In English, we got Tristan McAvery, who is also has a couple of other voices. So he was Hiroshi plus Naoko's dad from episode 2. So that's Junzo Katsuda. So that's Tristan McAvery's voice coming out of that big old man.
Yep.
He was also like ADR script for the Dirty Pair OVAs, but also the voice of Gendo Ikari for Neon Genesis Evangelion. The English voice of Gendo.
It appears to be his most well-known role.
Yeah, that's his big one. I'm capping off with Gendo. That's his, like, Tristan McAvery is Gendo. Heck of a voice cast on this on both sides so far, and it just continues to bring the heat.
It's kind of funny. It looks like a lot of like the old school like ADV talent is like throughout this thing, and then like the main guy is literally just the animator across the hall,
the designer across the hall. Just another point of in the legend of Golden Boy. Going into episode 4, also one of my favorites. This is the swimming one.
Yes.
So we're back to classic Kentaro. This time he's trying to slip into the one piece of star athlete Ayuko Hayami. So she is like a gold medalist Olympic swimmer. Kentaro can't swim.
No, he cannot.
So, how do you like my swimming?
Honestly, you ought to be taking our classes, not teaching them.
When you think about this one and a future episode are like some of like the big highlight animation moments of Golden Boy, like comedic moments as well. Also, like, you know, when his notebook is discovered in episode 1, his face, oh no.
Yep.
Just so many great faces. But yeah, he's assigned to the kiddie pool. Like it's one of those, although he can't swim, he throws down the gauntlet. A classic thing of getting in way over his head. But in the meantime, they have him assigned to the kiddie pool where he is, teaching the first-time kids how to swim. Of course, Kentaro is basically a daycare guy in the pool. But I really like the comedy in this one. Again, both from the swimming side and both like just dealing with little kids at the pool but it's also like, I think this is fun as well for not only like him learning how to swim, but the just the way he interacts with kids. I like the scenes of where he's like he's always like very patient with these kids, like trying to make swimming fun for the kids.
It's a really weird contrast for this episode because like whenever he's interacting with Ayako, it's like it's typical. It's his typical shtick. But then once he's like switching over to like being the teacher kid, it's like he turns it off and like he's suddenly like professional all of a sudden. I'm like, it's just a funny just like the stark contrast throughout the episode.
Yeah, much like Madam President, Ayako, the animators really like her.
She's like a couple tropes. She's got the swimsuit trope, but then she's also like she's very much the ice queen, like tsundere kind of trope as well.
I also love that the moment that she starts to warm up to him, the one time that they actually start swimming together, that he's trying, she's doing the butterfly stroke.
Yeah.
He's just trying the whole time to reach paradise.
Yep. That's one of those scenes where you're like watching it and someone walks in, you're just like, I can't explain.
I can explain.
That's one where I just be like, I can't explain. I'm not even going to try.
No. He compares her to a lioness on the savannah.
Yeah.
And you can tell like Doug's just milking it for all it's worth on this one. Like he is just, oh boy.
This one also has like the least amount of conflict, I'd say. This is the most like straightforward. It's just kind of Kentaro being Kentaro. Yeah, because the gauntlet was honestly one of the first times he actually self-inflicted himself, because like a lot of the other times he just kind of ends up in these situations just by existing.
Yeah, this is Kentaro like trying to prove his worth as a man. He's like, I'm gonna make this challenge, and then he's told that she's an Olympic athlete, and you just see him go white as a sheet, like, oh no, I'm gonna be on. And the wager was like what, a year of free labor?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, oh god, I'm gonna be on the hook forever. He's doing his usual Kentaro thing and ogling the head coach. But it's another one where his earnestness pierces through, because at the end of the day, he doesn't win in the traditional sense. It's one where I say like he changes her outlook. She has a very harsh training regimen, and it's one of those like along the way she lost something, or she lost some perspective. And so through him working with the kids and all of the other coaches seeing those results and adopting his techniques, all of a sudden the atmosphere, the mood of the pool lifts, and now swimming is fun again. So he was able to help, this high-performing Olympic athlete, all results oriented person, lighten up a little bit. So it's another one where I like the resolution of, this was a nice little lesson learned. I learned something today.
Yeah. It's honestly like the ending is like actually kind of sweet, aside from how he gets fired. But that you don't have to worry about that. That's very much just this show. It is funny how that happens, and then you get the sudden resolution where it's like, oh wow, all these things have gotten better and like things are great. But alas, he's gone.
Yeah, I do like the resolution, even though it is kind of a little bit of, oh yeah, he's gone, but all of these cool things happened, and he's been gone for like a week.
Yeah, this one's an interesting one where the girl has the realization, but he's already like long gone by that point.
Long gone. Yeah, in Japanese, Ayako Hainami is voiced by Kikuko Inoue, also voice of Kasumi Tendo from Ranma Half, also known as Belle Dandy from Ah My Goddess, Asaka Amahame from Aikatsu, Kune from Asobi ni Ikuyo. Oh yeah, Sanae Furukawa from Clannad and Clannad After Story. Yep. If you want a semi-recent one, we've got Acrobatic Silky from Dandadan. And then Rune Venus from El Hazard. She's got a ton of credits here. Oh yeah, another really fun mecha series, another like femme fatale style character. Carmen 99 from Gun Sword, or Gun X Sword. Grace O'Connor from Macross Frontier. So just a ton of Tatra from Magic Knight Rayearth. So again, just a ton of credits. This is just a very small sample. Yeah, and the English actress, we have Sue Ulu. And some of her credits, of course, we have Neon Genesis Evangelion, Ritsuko Akagi. And she returned for a lot of that. Big Mama from Sorcerer Hunters, Johnny Man from Soul Bianca, that OVA, Kay from the Dirty Pair Flash OAV, so that's another big credit for her, but not too much aside from that. A couple of other, like Haruka Mano from Devil Hunter Yoko, so a much shorter list of credits, but still. Episode 4's director is Akihiko Nishiyama.
Okay.
Rest in peace, as of 2008. He was mainly an episode director and a storyboarder. His only other director's credit is for episode 3 of Gal Force, The Revolution, those OVAs from 96 to 97. So he was also involved in City Hunter 2, Pat Labor, the TV series, Taiyo no Yusha Firebird, another robot series, in the Brave series, 1992's Tekkaman Blade, or Techno Man, if you prefer, but I said the Tekkaman Blade revival series. 1994's Gatchaman also was involved in Serial Experiments Lane, Outlaw Star, Full Metal Panic, the Gonzo's Full Metal Panic, Kaleido Star, and also Gundam Seed and Destiny and its movies, or its compilation movies, as far as the 2000s.
Nice.
Any final thoughts on episode 4?
Episode 4 is really good. It's definitely the most... It very much is beginning to end. It starts, the thing happens, and then he's already gone by the time it's over.
All right, well, moving on to episode 5. In my opinion, this is episode 1 is pretty spicy. Episode 4 has got a little bit like episode 5 is like, okay, all of a sudden we're in habanero territory. Like, this is
the episode that people remember this show for.
Basically, this episode begins with Kentaro is biking through the mountains, and he encounters a motorcyclist at a rest stop, and she is
there's a lot to say.
has a very close relationship with her bike.
Yes,
like throwing back, sculling a beer, opens up her front and just starts rubbing on the motorcycle while it's still humming.
It's very clear what's going on. Yeah. She also named her bike Bimbo, sorry.
Yeah, Bimo. Yeah. No one can outrun my Bimo baby. This is Laura Chapman.
Oh yeah.
Voicing Reiko Terayama, Flair from the Dirty Pair Flash OVA, Kiriko Aoi from Godaner, Maya Kamina, again, the main character, Hayato's mother from Razafon, another one I know from her from. So Ritsuko Akagi, but this is just Neon Genesis Evangelion, the Death and Rebirth movie. In Japanese, this is Sakiko Tamagawa. April's episode, she is the voice of the Tachikoma. She's also Natsubi Sugimoto from You're Under Arrest. Also a long-standing role as Kazuma's mother from Crayon Shin-chan. And then we have Marika Shinobu from the series Dear Brother. And then Princess Kakyu from Sailor Moon. So Sakiko Tamagawa. So our introduction to Reiko is in this very, very impactful scene. And so essentially, she races off on her motorcycle and Kentaro just madly pedals after her. He's like, I have to find out what this girl's about. What is it? He basically follows her to this estate. And it is, again, it's the Terayama estate. I think like a major politician, basically like humongous rich guy mansion. They hire him basically on the spot because, again, he has experience in housework and janitorial stuff. So he becomes a servant in the house basically on the spot. And they have a very, very strict code about etiquette and everything, which of course you're just kind of waiting for him to mess it up. But the Reiko Terayama, she is like the politician's like only daughter. And so she is refinement and poise and the perfect lady. So Kentaro, of course, doesn't recognize that it's her at first.
The toilet comes back.
The toilet returns. Yeah, another scene of him hugging toilets. And of course, obviously, she walks in at the exact wrong time.
See, at this point, if you've made it this far, you're used to this by now. So this one doesn't scare people away. To be fair, the hard opener for this episode immediately already makes this not that bad by comparison.
Oh yeah, very, very much a hard open. So, sorry. He gets a couple of clues. Because I think there was he was going through a backpack, one of her backpacks, and she had, cigarettes and beer and dirty magazines in this backpack, things that a lady should absolutely not have. Craziest thing is, that's not even the craziest thing he does in the episode. Because after he gets fired, the dude camps out on a hilltop for 23 days.
Yeah, he's got his priorities. They're questionable, but... He's got him.
Frankly, stalker attitude at this point. It's like, oh my God.
This is the weirdest, I think the actual, like, strangest behavior I think he's had so far, just because it's like, where did this come from?
Yeah, at this point, I have some very serious concerns about this man, like camping out to where he's like binoculars and everything, like camping out and surveying this estate for 23 days until he sees the limousine roll up and, or like, the unmarked car. He, of course, follows it to an abandoned warehouse. If the opening of the episode wasn't spicy enough, this one's just outright masturbation scene. I don't know how else to say it.
This is another one of those moments where I'm just like, what am I watching now?
Golden Boy has already like been treading the line, but this is where like the series basically goes like almost full hentai.
Yeah.
Like we are right on the doorstep.
This episode is extreme.
That's not even the highlight of the episode, because of course we got to talk about the animation tour de force that is the race. How did I got to ask you first, like, how did you think this was going to work out? Like,
I knew he was going to somehow bullshit his way into a win, because that's just how the show was going. I didn't think it was going to be as ridiculous as it ends up being, though.
The only way to describe it is just it's just cartoonish,
which is hilarious because he gets this luck by bad luck because his brakes fail right at the start of the race.
Well, it's not like he needed brakes to go down the hill in the first place.
No, it does bite him at the end, though.
It's not only just some really cool like bike animation and being able to see like both him and Reiko like taking these really cool racing lines, and like I really do appreciate the sequence as like they really get in the details of this stuff. They really get into like the mechanicals and the guts of this thing. As like it really just feels like these guys are doing a death race down this hill.
What's funny is like it starts off really subtle, and then it just gets more and more ridiculous the more it goes on.
Everything that happens in this race is also outlined in the manga. Like he does all of this stuff, but the way that they were able to expand on, like, okay, as he knows he's just getting smoked by this bicycle doing the traditional way, so he decides I'm just gonna take it down. Basically, like what is it? Not the aqueduct, but like just the side of the mountain.
Yep.
So he just goes off-road down the side of the mountain, somehow gets launched onto a power line.
The power line scene is the most ridiculous moment.
The power line scene is great.
This is also the scene where the famous study line comes from.
Both Mitsuo-san and Doug, you can tell like they are just flagging by the end of it, because he's either only chanting study or he's screaming. There's nothing else. Or he'll do like a gulp or something, but it's study, 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 and screaming for like 3 minutes straight. And you can feel Doug giving out at the end, because he's like, study, 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 oh, study. You can feel him giving out at the end, which of course reflects how Kentaro must be feeling at the end after this literal death race that he's just endured. And frankly, the way that he just flies off the cliff and lands in the forest is one of those of, there's no explanation.
He just jumps off the power lines and away he goes.
Away he goes. He's back on the road, and the way he wins the race is there's a bridge out, and it's like, okay, that now it's a game of chicken, or like Reiko knows that there's like this 90-degree turn coming up. Kentaro doesn't make the turn. Yep. He just goes. So now he just does this presumably Wile E. Coyote fall to his death, and she's just like, oh my God, what a man. Too bad he's dead though. And then all of a sudden, not only does he emerge from the woods, bike completely untouched, but like dude crosses a creek and then bursts out into the other side onto the road. And that's how Kentaro ends the episode. Of course, she doesn't catch him. What's
insane about this episode to me is the fact that the actual part that's supposed to be like the plot, like the middle job section, is like arguably the least interesting part of this episode.
Yeah, it's almost like just get on with it.
It's like, oh yeah, we need this for the plot, but we don't really want to do it, so we're gonna just speed run through it, reuse the thing from episode 1, and then just move on to the actual crazy shit. I enjoyed the Reiko as the girl for this episode, mostly just because she's the most straightforward. Like, there's no like bullshit with her, and I'm kind of okay with that.
Reiko is just insane.
She likes her bike a lot.
And she's a rebel, having to live this uptight and sheltered and highly regimented lifestyle. Like, it's the classic trope of, the rich girl needs to let her hair down every now and then, or has basically living this double life. Of course, this is Golden Boy, so you have to take it several degrees above that. The episode is directed by Kenji Takamura, and this is actually, Golden Boy is actually at near the end of his credits. And it's a short career spanning about 5 years from his main credits. He was an assistant production manager, later assistant episode director on episodes of Yawara, a fashionable judo girl, over at Madhouse. And he continued at Madhouse with as an assistant episode director on series like Doomed Megalopolis. He was on episode 2. He worked on Ninja Scroll. And then there was another OVA titled Please Save My Earth, and he was on all episodes of Please Save My Earth. He was also an episode director, and also his only storyboard credit was for 1994's Blue Seed over at Ashi Productions, and then also with a co-production with Production IG. So going into our last episode, episode 6, again directed by Hiroyuki Kitakubo. This is an anime original one.
Yes.
Kentaro is working at an anime studio. So he's a production assistant. He's one of the grunts, and he's basically doing deliveries on the bike, delivering cells here and there, picking up food, basically whatever the staff needs to keep the schedule. And he's working at Studio ABCD that had the logos in the style of A3P, that very
self-referential. Yeah.
Very balloony marshmallow letters in the style of A3P. Essentially, the conflict here is he is working on an anime production, but it's not going very well. But this is in a small group of anime such as, obviously Shirobako comes to mind. Events in this episode is like a similar chain of events to episode 10 of Paranoia Agent, although I think this episode has a much happier ending than how that one did. But, it's one of those it's a project, a studio on the brink of being shut down. In fact, one of my favorite lines in this episode is, this is the greatest crisis our company has ever faced since the last deadline.
Yeah. That one's probably a little too real for some people in the industry.
Oh yeah. Obviously you can see the animation staff is likely like a bunch of references to the actual animation staff over at A3P.
Doesn't Egawa actually appear in this episode?
Yes, he does. Egawa appears as himself in this episode. He voices himself for a couple of lines. Another self gag here. There you have posters of Golden Girl on the walls, and very much Golden Boy, but it's a girl. What did they call him? It was like Ngawa.
Something like that, yeah.
They changed one little word around. It's like, oh my gosh, the most handsome man in the world, or the most handsome, charismatic, and ultra richest man in the world. You mean that Ngawa is meeting our studio? Just like pumping the guy up.
Yep.
I love it. But our girl in this episode is her name is Chie, and she is a cell painter. So voiced by Mika Kanai, of Miyuki Itsumi from Xenosaga, Kaguya Sumeragi from Code Geass, Vanilla H from the Galaxy Angel series plus the game, Satoko Hojo from Higurashi, and also History from Hyperdimension Neptunia and that game series. Chie is also voiced in English by Yvonne Aguirre. I probably butchered that last name.
I looked on behind the voice actresses. There isn't a ton for her.
No, she has very few credits. You've got Asuka's mother as well as like a nurse in Evangelion, also like a news announcer in Dirty Pair Flash OVAs. That was some of the big ones that I saw for like anime news networks. But so like Chie basically walks Kentaro through all the different roles and responsibilities in an anime studio, and you have the usual things of, oh my gosh, it's a crisis. The director is hospitalized. What are we going to do? Well, that's the end of the studio.
Another car accident. I just realized.
Another car accident. Yes, he was hit by a car. That's car number 3. So, essentially, Kentaro saves the studio. So he's like, okay, what do we need to do? And he calls up all of the girls from the previous episodes. So like kind of in order of appearance, Madam President, they provide some reference models or some wireframe models or some CGI work. Naoko from episode 2, I believe she does some voice work for the studio. Like she and a friend of hers do some like voice acting. Episode 3, Noriko, she brings them food. Episode 4, Ayako is they needed reference footage. That's right. There was like this big demon swimming in the water, so they needed reference footage of swimming. And then Reiko, appears at the very end to make the final delivery of the Shirobako, of that white box, to the screenings. They actually make the deadline. I wouldn't call this one like straightforward, because it is still like very unconventional of how all of this works out, but it is another one of like Kentaro steps up to the plate and saves the day. Like if anything, this is the most blatant Kentaro saves the day episode of the series.
This one feels the most like it was definitely anime only.
Yeah, like a very, very kind of heroic send-off to our main characters, and a nice little reunion. I like this episode a lot.
Part of me kind of wishes episode 5, the way that ends, was how the series ended, just because that's kind of like a perfect ending. But at the same time, this is a nice, fun little callback. I will say Chie is probably the blandest of the girl characters throughout the series. She kind of just exists.
Yeah, because this is also a thing of like, she's very much devoted to her job. You know, this is what her whole thing is. You know, she's been doing this job for a while, so she's kind of maybe burning out or trying to beginning to question why she's still, you know, in the industry. You know,
she's very she's not the focus of this episode like the other girls are.
No, she is not. She is not.
So she doesn't like get the same development that the others do, and I think that's kind of why she kind of goes to the background a little bit. Yeah,
there's certainly a character arc, and like sure, Kentaro makes eyes at her and like drops some hints and things, but he's not out and out pursuing her. So it's almost like there's no time for any of that. Like the episode is already chock full enough as it is of so many things going on, that the B plot is basically her trying to figure out why, like her motivation for continuing in the anime industry when, you know, every project is a crisis. I do like the various gags and the self-references. Like, I'm sure there are some horror stories about how untidy animator desks are. Like everybody's workspace is an absolute disaster.
Yes.
But as a send-off, like sure, like if we're talking the main series, like a thematic send-off, with Reiko's episode, you know, Kentaro literally rides off into the sunset. That's a really nice one. But he also kind of rides off into sunset in this one as well. You know, that after the screening, it is a nice little "that's all, folks," where all the other ladies, you know, once again he manages to sneak away during the screening of the movie, and he's on to his next adventure. He's on his bike, and there he goes, and all the ladies are, you know, they all pile into a car in their various vehicles. And there they are. They see him in the distance. So, all right, punch it, ladies. We got to catch up to him.
Except for Chie, she stays behind.
Except for Chie, she stays behind. She has work to do.
She's also stuck in the anime world and can't follow into manga. Yeah, it was a nice ending. It's definitely an episode that feels like it was made specifically for the anime, because you get a lot of that referential like humor and stuff. I think it had the unfortunate thing it had to follow episode 5, which is just pure insanity. It's still a good episode regardless.
I also want to give a real big shout out to the music on this one. The composer, Joyo Katayanagi, and he is the composer on Black Magic M66, you know, that OVA for Masamune Shiro's debut manga all the way back in 1987. And that one's very much more a techno, you know, late 80s, you know, techno synth pop kind of soundtrack, which elements of that are certainly present here in Golden Boy. Yeah, pretty much. This was it. Like he has 2 aliases, so Kanji Honma and Yoshiharu Katayanagi, but none of them have like much music to go on. They brought him back a couple times for like anniversary recordings of Golden Boy, and obviously he's credited on the soundtrack. But for the ending credits theme, this is much more like bubbly J-pop and just, you know, almost like bubblegum J-pop. You know, Study a Go-Go. You know, where all the girls from all 6 episodes, they're singing the lyrics to this one. And actually, Hiroyuki Kitakubo, the series director, has the writing credits. He wrote the lyrics for the ending credits of of Golden Boy. So I thought that was pretty cool. What do you think about the series, like as a whole? Or is there anything we haven't like my overall thoughts on? I'll say like my overall thoughts on Kentaro after all of this. Obviously, a lot of his faults are played up to the extreme, and all of the usual jokes kind of fall in line with that, plus, you know, his particular toilet fetishes. But I think most of it lands. But I think it's like, it does come across, obviously, like this is a very, very 90s series, but I do still think it's a ton of fun. Like I do think it holds up, and it is a ton of fun to watch him bumble his way through various encounters, especially as especially on the rewatch. I think this holds up a lot on the rewatch because now we know all of his skill set that he kind of keeps hidden.
You notice a lot of things on the second watch through that the like little quirks and stuff that you don't pick up on the first watch because your brain's too busy processing what exactly you're watching.
Again, especially with the English dub, where again this was ad-libbed to the max, and they were just having, you could tell they were just having a ton of fun. So it's almost like watching a completely different show between the two dubs.
Yeah, like there's actually a contingent of like fans I've noticed that prefer the dub, which is rare for a lot of animes I've noticed. I find that interesting. I also find it very interesting how this series has like the cult following this series has is incredibly interesting to me because it is very much a love it or hate it kind of show.
The humor in this is very in your face. Like I said, you either love it or you hate it. I really enjoy slapstick comedy.
Oh yeah.
All of the so much of the comedy as well is just through the exaggerated, just crazy faces that Kentaro in particular makes.
Oh yeah.
He frequently goes off model.
No, it's once you get past the initial shock, it is a very fascinating series to watch, and you're very compelled just to see how much more ridiculous it can get.
Because Golden Boy, it's certainly a lurid series, but it's not a show where Kentaro is in it for the sex.
Yeah.
He's not, like, that is not his end goal. He is there to study. Certainly that could be a perk, and it certainly is a perk in the manga series later. You know, certainly he has his moments, and again, his very, very active imagination.
Yeah.
And again, like, has this just absolutely insane moments. Again, it's frankly stalker behavior at times, but it always just manages to toe that line to where it's like pure motivations at a certain point. It's almost like he just flip-flops between the two at the exact right time. Like right about the time you think he's just going to be this scumbag, he goes right around to doing something heroic, and it actually was something else. It was a noble cause all along.
Yeah.
So I think that's what kind of like contributes to the staying power of this series. A short and sweet venture.
Now, that's like the one thing I did like about it is it really doesn't overstay its welcome.
On the flip side, I think also like part of the staying power, because Golden Boy has so many of these out of pocket moments, is also, you know, in today's meme culture and everything, it's you can see it go through the cycle as various fans, and you know, there's always someone discovering Golden Boy for the first time ever, and it's a joy to see all the different reactions every single time, because so many folks just don't know how to process this thing at first.
Yeah. I know when I was, I mentioned I had watched it to Alex, she had asked if she would be interested in watching it, and I just went, nah, probably not.
Probably not. Yeah.
She passed immediately. I was like, yeah.
My wife is like her brand of humor. She does not like the really dumb humor. So she's not a fan of like Mel Brooks movies, doesn't like Monty Python, like the
Gotcha.
really dumb, just in your face kind of stuff. That's just not her kind of humor. So like Golden Boy is something that I also just know, like content aside, she would absolutely despise this series. And even like, I even know like my mom listens to this show on occasion. And she got a little bit of a tip off about this series. It's like, all right, Mom, let's give me a chance on this one. So, because just as you know, moms will ask, you know, how's your hobby going? How's podcasting going? You know, as they do.
Yep.
So
I had to, me and Alex learned the hard way. We had to explain to our mother what hentai was. And I'm like, just don't look that up, please, for the love of God.
yeah, just please, just don't. Yeah. But yeah, not looking forward to that one. But you know, I'm having fun right now behind the mic. But yeah, I think that's like, if talking about the legacy of Golden Boy, that I think that's one of the like, it has a surprising staying power for a number of reasons. You know, doesn't overstay its welcome, short and sweet, very compact. You know, each episode can be enjoyed in sequence or just by itself. Everything can stand alone as a full package or one after the other. And also at the very least, it's also just gorgeously animated.
It is.
All the scenes there, just so much designs. Like, it's just a gorgeous series to just sit in and take in. The environments, the bicycles, just everything. They really went all out, and I think that's another thing in its favor. Just still looks really good. Highlight of cell animation. But as we were talking offline going into this series, I'm not going to go too deep into Tatsuya Egawa's career, like after Golden Boy, like the manga. But I did say, you did say you wanted to know a little bit more about also like the other part of Golden Boy's reputation. It's more like the infamy of the manga series. But suffice to say, the original end point of Golden Boy was going to be about 3 volumes worth in. Like he was going to basically run it for like a year or so and then end it. But the manga was very popular. The positive reception to the manga, and then of course after the anime started coming out, the popularity got even more. So the editorial department insisted that Agawa continue the series, and the legend was, or not even legend, like it was just straight up, he said, give me full creative freedom for the remainder of the series. If you're going to make me do this, I want full creative freedom. And again, he's been through the Weekly Shonen Jump series. He's been through the couple of years of the Weekly Shonen Jump cycle, known for heavy editorial. So he's like, give me full freedom. And they agreed. And that's where Golden Boy pivoted into drastically more mature territory, where he practically turned this story into a hentai.
I've heard.
As such, he got into more and more weirder and weirder territory. It wasn't so much it's certainly like the more mature themes and just situations. Like Kentaro is just drowning in sex near the end of this thing. Like it's ridiculous. But it was also just a lot of political themes. Like Kentaro is the tagline, Kentaro Oe, one day he's going to save Japan and maybe the world through his study. And you're like, okay, what's he going to save the world from? And essentially, he introduced a rival to Kentaro, who is like the evil version of him, and he wants to rule the world. And humanity has lost their way, and I am the one who's going to unite all of the sheep under my banner. Wackadoodle, crazy, ridiculous. So the editors gave him 3-chapter notice while he was in the middle of this major arc where like Kentaro is essentially in the Matrix. I'm not even kidding. So the conclusion of Golden Boy is, infamously, Kentaro has his VR headset on, something major is about to happen, and then it just ends. And so Kentaro's last words for the story are like, wait, that's it? I thought there was more. I wanted to continue. And that was Egawa going a big middle finger to everyone. And he said at the end of the chapter notes, he'd probably never draw for Super Jump again. He stayed very busy after that. He continued to draw manga and other magazines. But he also has done live action movies. So the author of Golden Boy shot a porno in 2003.
Oh.
He did 2 more after that.
Interesting.
He signed on with a pretty big adult film label, so he signed with Soft On Demand. It wasn't just porn. His first film debut was 2006, and so he adapted one of his other mangas, Tokyo University Story, and this manga ran from like 1992 to 2001. So he adapted Tokyo University Story into a film in 2006. Now, Tokyo University Story also has a lot of spicy stuff happening, but again, it wasn't, this is a film. But he's also done some historical manga. So he covered one called The Russo-Japanese War, and then he did a manga for the classic Japanese Tale of Genji. Both of these were during the 2000s. He also, there was a manga anthology for Neo Devilman. And so this is a manga anthology. Each chapter was done by a different artist alongside original creator, Go Nagai, creator of Devilman, who Agawa cites as an influence on his own style. So this is one of those of, he got to pen a chapter next to one of his major influences. He got to make a manga with one of his heroes. The chapter doesn't have a name, so it's just chapter 2 of Neo Devilman. Egawa's second film was in 2010, and it's called King Game. So, King's Game is like the Japanese version of Truth or Dare. Mm-hmm. King Game was 10 people are trapped in a room, and they are forced to play a, very intense King's Game. I guess it's like a horror movie, but this is one, like he wrote it, he wrote the script, and he directed the movie. 2010 was also when he penned an official follow-up to Golden Boy, and this is just called Golden Boy 2. And he's back under Shueisha. This is Shueisha's business jump. No explanation or follow-up from the air quotes finale of the first comic. Kentaro is just now in his 30s, still traveling across Japan doing odd jobs, sleeping with some beautiful women, and it went into about a couple of volumes, I think like 2 or 3 volumes after that. So just a mini series, as it were. Interesting and colorful career.
Wild, actually, just the way how it went completely off the rails like that.
Anime News Network has articles and things, so I found the articles from the 2000s of like, you won't believe what the author of Golden Boy did.
Yeah, that's funny.
So it was a funny thing. Well, Bill, thank you for jumping on this episode with me. I know we've been going for a little while, so
Yeah, no worries.
I figured we'd open the community spotlight again and wrap up the episode with some comments from some listeners for the show. So I knew folks would probably want to write in. So we actually have 5 comments. And again, thank you guys for delivering on such a short notice. So we have, and all of this, again, from the Discord community. So Omi writes in and says, this anime is absolute gold. One for the ages. I liked it so much, I decided to read the manga. Oh, well, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the manga is like a slow train wreck. Like watching a train wreck in slow motion. It's fascinating, but at the same time, it was a valuable learning experience. So it's one of those of like, oh, so a story can implode this way. Got it.
Yeah.
Regular writer, we got Fallen Snow Kiku, who says, while I've only seen a few episodes of Golden Boy, I think it's a funny comedy. It's really elevated by English dub. From what I understand, the titular Golden Boy isn't even played by a professional voice actor, just an art director from ADV who got the part because he was in that much of a weirdo. It really enhanced the experience, and I should go back and finish it someday. So yeah, we talked about Doug Smith. No, he wasn't like a rank amateur. Like obviously, he'd been given voice direction before. Like they didn't just get him in off the streets. But everyone needs their first like voice actor debut. You know, I just talked about last episode in Furikuri with Carrie Walgren. You know, her voice actress debut was voicing Haruko Harahara.
I thought it was funny. One recently I discovered is in Ghost Stories, the infamous character, the one with the rabbit that says the famous like "I said jump" quote. That's that's Brittany. What's her name? She plays Rimuru in That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime.
I think it's Brittany Karbowski.
Yeah, that's it. She's also Nanachi in Made in Abyss, but she was the "I said jump" girl in Ghost Stories, which is just funny when you find that out.
We have Jay Fumikage. So this is one of the co-hosts of the 950 Club podcast. I have no comment because this baddie steals my words and the show, and he included a poster of Ayako Hayami from episode 4. There's an artist called Calvin Sims who does a commission artist on Twitter who draws a lot of sexy ladies. So he's got this poster of Ayako Hayami. Yeah, I actually want to ask who is your best girl?
Probably, I'm already forgetting her name. Motorcycle girl. Let's see, what's her name?
Reiko.
I don't know. It's the long black hair, man. I don't know what to tell you. And she likes motor vehicles, and I'm into racing. So.
Oh well, there you go. There's a good match. I think I'm also a fan of Ayako Hayami. I typically go for like this when I'm playing the games like Persona 4. My best girl is Chie. Ayako is my pick. She also has the Ice Queen thing going on, so that's kind of hot.
That's fair. I mean, I'm a Yukiko guy myself from Persona 4.
So that tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, always a fun. I can't wait for Persona 4 revival.
I already have it pre-ordered.
I'm very excited.
I'm a little bummed about the voice actor changes, but that I can get over it.
Yeah, they pulled the same thing in the last one, so I was kind of afraid of that from Persona 3. I was like, well, it sucks, but that's just companies that the actors are now like either bigger or probably union actors, so it's like they probably just replaced them with more non-union actors because that's just how it's going. So it's really a shame. I
mean, to be fair, half the Persona 4 cast had been replaced by like Dancing All Night anyways, because I'm pretty sure it was just Johnny Young Bosch and Yuri Lowenthal and Amanda Winley were like the only original ones left by that point.
Yeah, I mean, it already happened, but it was still just, you know, you still hate to see it for the folks who made the characters iconic in the first place. But that's just how it is here. You know, what else is new?
Yeah.
So we got 2 more. We got Tyler from Anime Degens. He says, I think Golden Boy is one of those shows that even if you don't like the general tropes or themes or styles, you should watch it anyways because odds are you're going to love it. But the sad thing is there's only a couple of episodes. The reason there aren't any more episodes is because by the time this was wrapping up, we were getting late into 1996 And so the Golden Boy manga was very much in a lower popularity space. Like the editorial, even at the time, was doing like various tricks and things to kind of push Golden Boy further and further, like to the back of the magazine. Mm-hmm. So even by then, like they weren't going to try and bring any more attention. But it's still a real shame regardless. Like there are some really good chapters after these initial 5. Like again, these are literally like the first 5 chapters of the manga. And so what I really like how the show like expands on what's in the chapters, because every chapter is like 20 or so pages. You're expanding 20 or so pages to 20 minutes. So there's a lot more extra things you can do with that. I also think this is kind of funny. He continues. He has a postscript. If anyone enjoys Golden Boy, you gotta check out Great Teacher Onizuka if you haven't already. Another fun classic. So I'm just like, yeah, I was like, Golden GTO stole my stuff. But I do also agree that, yes, indeed, like Great Teacher Onizuka would also be a nice addendum for like a longer series of it, but nowhere near as unhinged as Golden Boy. But I can kind of see the comparison, but it's just a fun coincidence. So thank you for the chuckle, Tyler.
Oh, I looked up some screenshots of this, and yep, I know exactly what this is.
And then last but not least, we have Stupid Doofus, who says, totally the worst anime ever. I work in an office with several people who are law graduates from Tokyo University. None of them are as awesome as Kentaro. So he actually lives over in Tokyo. So, but yeah, that is Golden Boy. I mean, this is final thoughts. I mean, it's a classic for a reason. I think your mileage may vary, or depending on your tolerance level for just outright 90s character is a pervert jokes.
It's basically one of those animes that like people who don't like anime use to basically say why they don't like anime. I'm like, which is fair. I get it. It's one of the few animes that I like to refer to as an experience, because it really is. It's
an experience, and Golden Boy is also unapologetic.
Oh yeah.
You even just look at the front cover. You absolutely, Golden Boy is the epitome of judge that book by its cover. What you see is exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah. And it's a wild ride.
It is an incredibly wild ride. And thank you for joining me on this ride. Looking forward to the next time we do this. So before we sign off, though, would you mind telling the folks once more where they can find your show?
Once again, I'm Bill. I'm the co-host of Gaming Collecting, the 3DO Experience, and Geek Addicts. You can find all of those shows on pretty much all the major podcasting platforms. Easiest place to find us is Linktree/The Barber Who Games, or you can go to superpodnetwork.com and you can find all my shows along with a whole bunch of other awesome creators on that lovely website. And
for those of you, definitely go check out, leave a comment, tell them hello from the Anime Field Guide. And until next time, everyone study up and stay safe and watch more cartoons.
これ曲が先ですか？